I'm Alice Finch here at BrickCon 2015 with the collaborative display done by Arklug of Mouseguard.
And so the display kind of tells a story throughout the whole length of it. So what are we looking at the very beginning here?
So this is the Barkstone. Each of the locations here is based on one of the places within the comic of Mouseguard. There is, in fact, in the end papers of the book, there's a map of the Mouseguard world, and this is one of the locations. This is a village inside the root of a tree, essentially. So everything is very prim and proper and neat and tidy. And of course, everything is scaled to the size of a mouse. So we use the minifig as the mouse, but everything else is scaled so that it is enormous and large. So this is Barkstone at the very beginning here.
And then this is a lot of people contributing to the display. How many people have contributed to this collaborative?
So in total, there are 20 people. 15 of those contributed in the area of Barkstone. So what we did was we established certain norms, certain standards, such as the size, certain colors, and a look, because we have various
aesthetic
cities.
Guidelines,
yes,
right?
So we said no bright colors. We need natural colors. Remember, these are mice collecting resources from the wild. So, and then we decided that we were going to use standard minifigs, but make it basically as small as you could using a standard minifig. Because we wanted the posability of the legs and we wanted height differences, so you could use short legs, but we also needed the regular leg height.
Totally. And then how did you kind of initiate the collaboration? Was it through a Flickr group, a mailing list, a blog? How did that work?
So I was in contact with the author, David Peterson. He happened to be a fan of Hogwarts, and so he actually came down to see my Hogwarts, which was on display at Emerald City Comic Con, and I got to talking with the author, and he basically asked me if I would build something from his Mouseguard comic, and I said yes. That next year I didn't have time to build anything, so I came back the next year and I said, I have an even better idea, and that is to have Arklug, which is the architecture lug that I founded a couple years ago, and with 20 people we can do even more than just I could do myself. And so most of those people are local here in the Seattle area, and so we meet regularly and have workshops and meetings and things, and so it started with planning how we were going to lay this out on tables that worked for convention. And so we took essentially the map in the end papers and we created a linear format to tell the story of Mouseguard.
Okay. That's amazing. And so you kind of just have a lot of people sort of pitching in, getting more done together than you would alone?
Yes, absolutely. Many hands can make light brick, maybe?
Yeah, there you go. Something like that's a Lego adaptation of the old phrase. Very nice, very nice. And then moving on to the next sort of scene world,
so
what are we looking at now?
out of Barkstone, out of the root, and then there's transition to the next scene, which is Lockhaven. Lockhaven is like the capital city. Mouseguard is based on the premise that the guards are like rangers. They are the protectors of these mice, and this is their fortress, this is their capital. And the matriarch is sort of like the queen. She is the head of the guard, and this is where they have all their archives and their, it's their headquarters essentially. But it's also within the root of a tree, within this massive tree, and so we try and scale it. So, here's a root leading up the side, and the castle kind of fits right in between it.
Totally. And then describe who I guess we'll make sure to put in all of the names of the contributors into the description of the video, certainly. Okay. But who exactly made what we're looking at right now?
So David Frank made Mouseguard. David is the person that built Rivendell with me. So this was actually a really perfect build for him because, of course, he likes to do castle things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very castle.
I also should mention that we had Guy Himber of Crazy Bricks. We worked with him to do the mouse heads. So that actually was really key to making it work because Lego doesn't really make a mouse head unless you like Fabuland, and that's a totally different look and a size. So
but thankfully Crazy Bricks exists, right?
Yes. Crazy Bricks was great. We worked with Guy and also with the artist to make sure it had the right look to it. It's a pretty classic look, and then we also have some really awesome accessories. One of the books is called The Black Axe, And so we had, as one of the accessories, the black axe be one of those parts because it's a really distinctive weapon. And it's also pretty key to the whole story.
Totally. I guess we'll move it along here. Yeah. We have a wonderful owl there, I see.
Yes, so the owl's done by Sean Snyder. He is an amazing sort of sculptural builder. And so this is him. He's also done a lot of... he did Smaug for our Lake Town build, and he's done some really amazing human creatures that you probably will see in the sculpture section.
Really good at rendering organic forms.
Yes, exactly. So this is actually a scene where some of the guard are encounter a natural predator. One of the wonderful things about this book is that the enemies are often just parts of the food web, right? You know?
Yes.
So it's owl versus mouse, and I'm happy to say the mouse wins. That's why he has one red eye.
And I see we have the reference material right below. Very nice.
Yes, so we were really lucky in that the artist and the publisher have been tremendously supportive of this project, and we're really happy to provide material. Of course, these are published books, so we use that a lot, particularly with the architecture. We're archlug, so we really are interested in architecture, but that provided a lot of inspiration for making sure it was really accurate to the original material. So that's, for right now, we have the book spread out so you can see. Unfortunately, the light for that room is not on right now. So you could see inside this guild room.
But the book sort of dictates the aesthetic guidelines, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And then I guess moving along here, we have this right here.
So this building here is Thistledown, and then this is Shorestone. So Shorestone is another town, I guess you could say, but this time it's inside of a rock. And so this is the only exterior architecture that you see. Everything else is actually inside the rock, and if you go down and look through the doorway, you will actually see the merchant hall in the back, because that is what you walk into. It's kind of like it looks kind of like a Romanesque cathedral, except that it's merchant stalls selling fabric and dye and seeds and books and all kinds of interesting things.
Very nice. And then I love the little backdrop there, the sort of like tiered plates. Yeah. So
when I was developing the sort of the stylistic way that this model would work, I really wanted it to be, well, partly different than what I've done before, but the style of this really lent itself to this plate-built, studs-up design. Mm-hmm. And for all the shaping of the landscape, and I wanted the rock to fit within that style. And so to do slope-built rock really wouldn't match. It would be too shiny, too linearly striped, and I wanted it to be plate-built with all these wedges in it. It's one of those projects where I really thought about it for a long time, and then I sort of figured out what I was going to do with these layers, and it's partially the image is created by the shadows between the layers, and that was really important. So that was the first rock that I did, and then I miniaturized it for the pebbles.
Sure.
And then I applied that same design when we get to the cliffs of Port Sumac. But it was the plate wedges with studs up that was sort of dictated that.
Lots of cool angle plates, very interesting aesthetic.
Yeah.
And then I see some lovely parts dumping here. We have some liberal use of rocks.
So remember the scale, this is scaled to a mouse. So these are supposed to be pebbles, but they're huge to a mouse. And then we have a beach and the entire world's supply of green zip cords.
That is awesome. And then those appeared in what set? Let's any idea?
I don't actually know, but
all set.
They only the green is one of the less frequent colors because there's also red and yellow. Yeah. But I just had the idea of making this be grass, and you want it to wobble a little bit, right?
You want that little texture too, you know?
You want it to be flexible because the mouse can go through it and get to the beach. And
if it was like a different scale or something, it really wouldn't work. But when you sort of like this, then the context of it all.
So it's pretty funny because once I figured it out, I realized, this is going to actually take a lot of material, right? But who in their right mind has 150 green?
Some guy in Germany, I bet.
No, I bought them all. But the funny thing was, I imagined the sellers going, "Phew, I got rid of that part."
Thank God.
Yes.
It's been sitting here. Totally.
And then we have the crazy plants. So I came across the Bionicle parts quite accidentally. Often I will just look through all of the parts that come in any particular color to get ideas of what's possible, and I came across it and I thought, oh my god, why did Lego make this enormous
crazy.
flower?
Yeah.
Little did I know that it's meant to be a Bionicle cocoon for the bad guys to capture their prey, essentially.
Very Bionicle.
But I immediately saw it as a flower.
Of course, yeah.
And it works really well because, of course, the scale is enormous.
Yeah.
So it works as a sort of looks kind of carnivorous.
It looks like an evil daffodil.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Then we have Caligaro. This is our beachfront house. These are sort of like forts where the guards have their territory. And Daniel Fortine did this Caligaro here. And it's actually a great scene where there are two guards inside having a conversation. And basically it goes dark and they realize that it's been completely covered in crabs. And so they have to battle with the crabs that have taken over Caligaro.
Very nice. And I see some lovely water kind of gradation here.
Yeah, so again, in telling this story linearly, we have a lot of different kind of geography, and I wanted the water to be interesting. And so actually all of the plates are pushed down only on one end. Some of it's gotten more compressed just by being packed when traveling, but really the intention is for it to only be down on one side, because it gives it texture and it gives it shadow and it makes it much more interesting than if it were just completely flat.
So like a little bit of a wave.
Yes, exactly. Okay. There's wind blowing on it. It makes kind of that rippling. And also, we're lucky now that we have water plate that comes in several different watercolors.
Totally. And then moving on down here, we have a little.
Yes.
I don't even know what to say.
So in the background, we have Frostic. Frostic is sort of an outpost in the middle of what would be considered an ocean for a mouse.
Okay.
In the rocks. And then this is Port Sumac. And Port Sumac actually has two parts. There's Lower, which is it's not necessarily a highly reputable civilization.
Seedy part of town.
The seedy part of town.
Yeah.
This is where your pirates and such. This was done by Thorin, and it's meant to look really ramshackle, right? These are debris from larger creature-sized vessels, and they've used them to create their
pirate
buildings.
Outpost almost.
Yeah. So there's boat parts that have become houses and things like that. We have the Bellwether Tavern, who was done by Jim Edelin.
Okay. And very ramshackle walkways,
yes.
I see too.
Yeah. It's all meant to be
awesome.
rickety.
Totally.
Which also means that any time it gets transported, it really does fall apart, and then we put it back together again.
And then we see that plate technique again, right?
Yeah, so here, this is meant to be the cliffs, because you have, again, the scale factor where you want it to feel tall, and then on the top you have Port Sumac, and you have an inn where they make sumac wine, essentially from the berries in the sumac. So, and then this is grass. So the rest of the civilization is essentially underground behind the hills of grass.
That's awesome.
And this was another one of those things where once I had the idea to use these hoses as grass, I needed.
And it's one of those things about scale again, right?
Scale, right?
Yep. And I see some lovely cheese slope sort of placement.
These are supposed to be little mossy patches, but it's just fit in with tension. These are not attached to anything. And so it just takes many hours and a lot of cheese to make these little, it's all about texture. I think about that a lot when I'm building to make sure that you're seeing different types of, not just the studs, but what is shiny and what is not shiny. What is in shadow. And in different shades of brown, like this roof here. This is meant to be mimicking the scales of a pine cone.
Oh.
So it's actually one of those sort of hot rod pieces.
Yes, a little.
But in brown, and I think it looks like pine cone scales.
That's awesome.
So there you go. This is Mouseguard.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us, Alice.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
All right. Hi, I'm Paul Hetherington here at BrickCon 2015. And this is my Mouseguard creation. It was built as part of an art slug display, and it's the title piece for the entire display. And Mouseguard, if you don't know, is it's a book, like a comic book series, And it's done by a guy named David Peterson who lives in Minneapolis. I think there's like 5 or 6 books now, and basically it follows the mice, the world of these medieval mice, and there's absolutely no human contact in these books. Even to the fact, I asked him once why there's no cats in this book, because Tom and Jerry, that's like the classic story, and he's like, well, cats are kind of a domesticated animal, so I won't even have those in there. I want the mice to be completely in their own universe, and they fight against their predators are all the other, like their natural, owls and wolves and things like this.
And so when you think about other stories, it's like mice are always the accessory to some other larger kind of plot of creatures, and the mice just exist in that world. So this is a mouse-centric world.
Yes, a mouse-centric world.
Okay.
So basically about the build, I looked online, and well, first I came up with the idea of the book, which seemed to be just so appropriate, as the title piece for the entire display, since it's based on a book. And then I looked through the internet to find a house that looked mousy, and I found a drawing that somebody had done of essentially this building, and then I just recreated that in Lego, and then I built the mouse characters around it. Sort of jumbo mice characters,
sure.
And threw them around, and like Castle has come such a long way over the last 5 years especially, so it was a good excuse for me to get to use some of the new techniques that some of the amazing castle builders have started.
Lots of interesting pioneering work being done in the technique world.
Yeah, I would say that I was inspired by the pioneering techniques of other castle builders. My contribution possibly in this one is using the hinge bricks or hinge plates as the roof.
Okay, and so are these the older finger hinges we have here?
Yes, these are like your classic 1980s car roofs. Essentially, that's usually what they were used for, and I just happened to have enough in black, so I went with it, and it ended up giving me some really nice curves.
Very nice, very nice. And so for a build like this, it's so stylistically perfect is the kind of phrase I want to use. Did you sort of draw it out before kind of actually building it, or did it just sort of happen as you went?
Kind of. Like I built the front panel to get the scale of it. Nathan Sawaya had done a castle coming out of a book.
Yes.
So I did look online for that. So. Mine is a bit more like he did it with just bricks, and I introduced more plates and tiles. Well, I think his probably had tiles, but mine was a little more defined by using plates. And it was also inspired by some of the old Lego World shows. They had a storybook one,
really,
and they actually had a book with some Lego characters coming out of it. Though the book was not made of Lego in that case, but the characters were. So a little bit of inspiration there. So kind of between Nathan and that, I had the idea, and then it just seemed perfect for Mouseguard.
Awesome. And so I guess as far as the figures go, could you describe them a little bit, just technique-wise, or sort of maybe challenges sourcing? I know dark orange is a little bit of a rarer color.
Yes, dark orange, at the time, possibly still now, there's no 1x1 plates available. So I built the dark orange mouse first, and had to work with 1x2 plates, which luckily I had from Pick a Brick Wall.
Yes.
And a couple, corner plates, the 1x3s or whatever they're called. So that was, if I could do it in that one color with a limited palette, then the other mice heads had to follow using the same parts. And apart from that, you've got the minifigure arms as the fingers.
A very nice touch, yes.
And droid heads as the toes worked out quite well.
Okay.
And awesome. I don't know, they're just kind of cute and fun, and a little bit of snot work, but basically studs up.
Sure. And then this build has received some wonderful accolades. Certainly a very popular build with the public. What has it received thus far?
I got Best in Show at BrickCon last year, which was cool, and it was in art, so I got an art award.
Okay.
And it's. I think people just really like it. A lot of people come up to me and say, hey, I love books. It's so amazing to see a Lego creation based on a book.
Sure, yeah. So for someone, I guess, coming from someone who has won Best in Show, if you're out there and you want to win Best in Show, what are some maybe strategies, or pandering to the crowd? Is that a thing? Maybe kind of like building something that's easily relatable. Any thoughts you can share on that?
I would say Don't even do it. It's highly overrated. You know. No. Yeah, I don't know. Really, it's about being a polished, finished work. You know, like a lot of stuff that you build for the internet doesn't have to be perfect on every angle. You're only seeing it from one angle, typically.
It's like there are not that many viewpoints. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you build for a show, like it has to be viewable from all angles, and basically finished. You know, polished. I guess.
Sure.
And you know, just having a good overall concept, and then like taking that concept like 100% and finishing it.
And executing all these clean corners, all that good stuff.
Executing, that's a good word.
Execute. Well, thank you, Paul, so much for sharing with us.
Hey, thank you very much.